Hey, Tobias here, and welcome to this episode. In this episode, I want to be talking about the pain and the problem that most people that we meet, most business owners, owners of service firms, owners of any business for that matter, go through. About 95% of entrepreneurs are actually in pain, which is absolutely horrible. And so we've made it our mission to help alleviate that pain and help people build companies that give them the time, the money, the freedom that they want. And as you might know, we do that through the core principle of simplifying. And so let me talk about what the most common problems are and how you can solve them and how we solve them through our method here at The Simple Company. So most of the companies that we meet, the business owners, they're somewhere around seven figures. They're maybe shy of seven figures. Maybe they're making 40, 50K a month. Maybe they're already at multiple seven figures. But what they have in common is they usually feel like their whole business rests on them as the entrepreneurs. They built it in such a way where it's almost impossible. It is actually impossible to grow it much beyond where they're at because they're already maxed out. They're already stressed out. And usually that stress comes from the unpredictability in their business. So, they might actually be doing okay, or they might be doing great. I mean, in terms of like the financials, but it's not sustainable and they know it. And the reason is because the business is so dependent on them that they can't really leave it. They are like the key person for all the problems. They're the key person for all their clients. They're the key person for new business generation as well. And so I know everything about this. This was exactly what I did the first 7 years in building my consultancy and our 3 agencies that we built underneath my consultancy. It was all like this pretty much all the time. The more I grew it, the more I grew my problems along with it. And I reached a point about 7 years into it where I'm just like, I just can't do it anymore. Everything depends on me. It's a horrible feeling because you've built something, you're probably really proud of it, but you're going to have to make some changes if you want that unpredictability and the stress and the maxed out feeling that comes with it to go away. In my case, it was all about starting first to productize like individual services. And then I started to standardize and productize my whole business. Eventually, so much so that I pivoted away from the whole brick and mortar consultancy agency service, which I still love, and I don't think that you need to pivot away from it, but I wanted to try a model that is even more productizable, if that's a word. And so let me share a little bit what it is that I've done and what we now help entrepreneurs do, business owners do, and specifically owners of service companies. So typically, our clients, like I said, they're at a point where they're either suffering or they're doing okay, or they're doing pretty good. Like we have a client right now, there are 2 owners and they're actually doing really good. They're really profitable, but they're maxed out. They know they can't really hit higher levels because they can't take on more clients. And the same is true for a lot of people. That it's either client acquisition or it's the delivery part that is out of sync. And so one of the challenges that I like to throw people, and you can play on yourself or you could test for yourself, is like, what if you grew 10 or even 100 times? Imagine what your business looked like if it was 10 times bigger. Could you take on 10 times more clients? If the answer is no, then that's a good starting point. Ask yourself, what if your company was 100 times bigger? Or maybe the 10x already will solve this out for you, but you will realize that you cannot build this business, the 10 million business, resting on you for being, the biggest, the linchpin. Let's say actually you're the bottleneck, but the linchpin in your business. You cannot do that. So you're going to have to work it out another way. And that's a good starting point. So when we work with customers, we're like, what do you want your business to look like when it's done? Imagine yourself as you're already a bit tired of what you're doing. Like, what would you actually want to do? If you want to be the visionary, you want to be the person who comes up with new ideas, new products, whatever it is, or you want to be strategizing, but you don't want to do the work. You don't want to do fulfillment work, because if you do, you're always going to limit yourself. So what do? We go through 3 stages for every business that we work with. The first stage is to simplify. And we simplify primarily at the strategic foundation level. What I mean by that, imagine if your business was a garden and you came and you started working with us. We'd probably tell you your garden's too big. And we'd probably look into that garden and see that maybe about 80% of the stuff that is growing in your garden are actually weeds. And the translation there is they're the unprofitable customers, the out of strategy and alignment projects, the time wasted on stuff that you shouldn't be doing, the too many ideal customers, the too many segments. So one of the first things we want to do is we want to prune. We want to weed out the stuff that doesn't belong to focus only on the profitable, the essential. And then we can simplify that even further by making sure that your offering is so simple, so appealing, so convenient for people that more people are going to choose it at higher prices and they're going to buy more times. And secondly, what we'll do is we'll take a look at how you're set up in terms of your business model, your how much you could productize and standardize your offering, how you can build a front end and a back end and maximize, how much people buy when they buy from you and in your lifetime value. So that's what we're really good at. We're really good at taking businesses who are at a few hundred thousand, ideally at 7 figures already, and helping them grow from there. And so the second bit, after we simplify to find that healthy core, which sometimes involves actually shrinking the size a little bit first. We want to find what is really profitable, what you can productize, what you can scale. The second piece is to systemize that part. And systematizing, essentially what we want you to implement are 3 core systems. A system for lead generation. And I'm not talking about like, hey, we're already getting leads. Yeah, but if you're relying on these random referrals, as I call them, it doesn't really count because you need predictability in your business. You want to have a system in your business that provides you with good quality leads consistently, way before you run into cash flow problems. If you have cash flow problems today, it's not because you didn't get that last deal. It's because of what you didn't do, consistently over the last, 3 to 6 months, because your lead time might be pretty long. So we want to make sure that we have a process and system in place for lead generation, and we certainly want to make sure that we're measuring and tracking and adjusting. And again, simplifying here. So you don't need to do a lot of different things. You want to first build one proper lead generation mechanism and funnel, and then you want to add, because you don't want to be too dependent on only one way of getting getting leads. So for example, you could be running ads, and you could run ads on multiple platforms, but maybe something happens, you don't want to be too dependent on that. So we might add, in an organic way to reach clients. We might be helping you adding different partnerships models. So making sure that you have a steady flow of people coming your way. And then we want to make sure that you have the right ways to connect, to build trust, to position yourself, and to activate. That's what a lot of people are not doing enough. They're not activating. They're providing value, but they're not activating. So once you activate, we get into the second piece, the second system that you must have in place. And by the way, I can guarantee you're not going to grow, where you want to be or beyond yourself if you don't have these systems in place. It's just simple. I've seen it too many times. The second system is the sales conversion system. How do you engage with people? How do you convert them and close them and turn them into customers? How do you follow up with the people that don't buy, the people that you've met before? You need to measure, you need to have systems in place. Obviously, you need to have the skills as well. And that's what we also train you on. We have a person who's dedicated as a sales coach, helping you with the prospecting and the conversion and the follow-up. And the same with the lead generation. We have different coaches. We have the experts team, and we have one-to-one coaches that work with you, to make sure this stuff gets implemented. The third piece, maybe no surprise, is your value delivery system, also called the fulfillment system, which is where, there's so much that you can probably do to make your delivery more standardized, more efficient, which means more profits for you, more consistency, better results for your clients, which translates into the key metric here, which is you have more recurring purchases. And that is the most highly profitable activity you can invest in to actually deliver results for people. A lot of people out there in this space, in the service space, have crappy offerings. They don't actually work. They don't deliver. If you have a great offering, if you again focus rather on fewer offerings than more, you're going to be able to deliver a ton of value. You're going to actually be able to position yourself as the best or the only choice. Because again, go back to just look at Apple. How did they become the first trillion-dollar company in the world with only a handful of products? I mean, it's always laughable. It's almost, it's almost humiliating for all these other companies that have like hundreds of SKUs, not getting even close. They can't even touch Apple. So want to make sure that you have that great offering and the experience, on the front stage of your business. At the same time, you want to design the experience and the processes, the underlying processes and systems to consistently deliver the value across your delivery system. So lead generation, we want to make sure that you have the sales conversion dialed in and your value delivery. And for sure, there are other systems, the things you need to do to manage your business, the leadership, the management systems, finance, all these other things. But we want to make sure that these three core pieces of your engine are in place so you can build that growth engine. Now, before you have a really compact, clear concept and these things dialed in, it's not worth trying to scale it too much, because when you scale something that is not really waterproof, you're going to scale a lot of problems along with it. And I tried that. I don't recommend that for you. So the final piece then is the scaling. So we simplify, we systematize, and then we scale. And scaling doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a linear activity. Quite on the contrary, actually, scaling should be, an exponential exercise. So when you have a highly profitable, validated, a documented way of working where you measure your results, now we can take a look at how you can scale that up. And there's so many different strategies and tactics for doing so. And we have pre-built most of this stuff, by the way, plug and play systems. We have these tactics and strategies. We have SOP'd them. They're ready to go for whenever you're ready to implement them. And so, for example, if you wanted to scale up your marketing, get 10 times more leads, there are proven ways that we did not invent that are out there that just work. And the thing is to take those things and put them into your machinery and make sure that they work. So we're going to adjust it and make sure that we track it. And then at some point, once it works, we can add more fuel. So it's either the marketing. Another really smart way is to scale up through your business model. So people don't think about this at all that much, because they think in linear terms. They think that they're completely limited by their current team. They're not looking into more creative ways of scaling up. And that's something we can talk about if you're interested. And so the last piece is really the most fun part when you scale it up, but you don't scale it up so the business runs on you. The business runs on systems, and the people run the systems. So we might be scaling up your team. We might be implementing whichever extra systems that are needed for you to build a business that can run at multiple 7 figures or 8 figures if that's what you want. And that way you can gradually start to remove yourself from the core of the business, which is the whole idea. Because ultimately, I think what you want, besides the impact, the money, the time, is freedom. Freedom to choose, freedom to live the life the way you want. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, make sure that you hit the links here. And if you are listening to this, just make sure you go to thesimplecompany.com/assessment and take this 5 to 10 minute assessment, book a call with us, and we'll see if you're a good fit. In any way, on the call, we're going to show you 3 ways that you can more than double your profits. We have a tool for doing that. And if you're interested, just go to thesimplecompany.com/assessment, go through the assessment, book a call, and we can then talk about how we might be able to bring you into our membership model, where we will work with you for 3 to 12 months or more to implement everything I just talked about. If you're stuck at 500K, $1 million, or a couple million, and everything rests on you and you feel the pain, you don't know how to be predictably profitable, and you don't know how to grow beyond where you're at, the problem is you have too much complexity going on. Everything is built around you. And this model will help you build a simple company, a company that focuses only on the highest yielding activities. So making faster profitability possible, faster growth, and ultimately give you the freedom that you want. So if you're interested, make sure we meet on that call. Thank you very much.